Welcome back, Math 8. Mrs. Koontz here. As you can see, today we are going to continue Module 5. We are going to work on Skill 4. And Skill 4 is that I can interpret ordered pairs to plot points and classify linear. Alright, so let's just jump right in today. So, on your paper, go ahead and draw a graph. Or if you have the ability to, you can move these pictures and you can use my handy dandy graph here. That's up to you. But make sure that you also label your X and Y axes. You also need to make sure you label those positive and negative, not just X and Y. So, let's think about this for a second. If we are looking this direction on our x-axis, which direction is this? All of our numbers are positive, so we call this our positive x-axis. Going the opposite direction, our numbers are all negative. So this is our negative x-axis. That only leaves our y-axis. Using the same method, if we look this direction, we can see that our y-axis numbers going up are positive. So we can write a plus y up here. And looking down our y-axis, we can see that these are our negative y numbers. Please make sure that you always label your axes. We will not look at your graphs if you do not label your axes. Okay? Take a second and do that. All right. So today we are going to practice graphing ordered pairs. Take a second and recall to yourself how we actually plot ordered pairs. Ordered pairs are those things when we see parentheses and then something and then a comma and then something else, right? What goes first? What do we graph first? Our X or our Y? What do we graph second? An easy way to remember this is always that it's just alphabetical. X and then Y. So make sure when you're looking at your ordered pairs and you're graphing them, you graph X and then you graph Y. Okay? Alright, we're going to start with the red. So when we're looking at these, like we said, we're going to graph our X and then our Y. So when we're looking at this 3 here, we have 3 is on our x-axis and -5 is on our y-axis. So we're going to go across our x-axis to +3 and then from that +3 down to -5. Okay, so go ahead and do that for each one. Notice that it also says up here you're going to graph each of these coordinate points. So you're going to graph all 3 of these. Then you're going to connect to the points. So draw this point, then draw the second point, connect those points. Then draw the third point and connect that point, the second point to the third point. It says label the line and the points. How do we label the points? So this is something that may be a little tricky. We haven't necessarily talked about this too much yet. My suggestion is we think about how we might label the lines. Each of these is a different color. So this group, this line, is going to be red. My suggestion is you label the line R. Label the line R. And then each of these points, you label R1, R2, and R3. This will help you keep track of which lines are red and which points might come from orange, green, blue, or purple. We want to make sure that we're able to see the different lines if we don't necessarily have different colors, because sometimes we don't have the ability to use multiple colors. We only have a pen or a pencil. Okay, so we need to make sure we label those points, and we're going to graph them, connect each point as we draw it. Draw the first point, graph the second point, connect those points. Draw the third point, connect the second point to the third point, and then make sure you label the points and the line. Okay? Go ahead and take 4 minutes and do that now. All right, hopefully in that 4 minutes you were able to graph all 3 of those coordinate points, then connect the 3 points and label the line and the points. Let's go ahead and move on to orange. Again, we're going to make sure we label our line. In orange, my recommendation is we label it with that O, and we're going to label each point. My suggestion is O1, O2, and O3. You're going to do that same thing for your graphing. You're going to graph the first point, graph the second point, connect those 2 points. Graph the third point, connect the second point to the third point. Do not connect the orange line to the red line. You're just connecting the orange points to the orange points. Okay? Go ahead and do that. Try that in 4 minutes. Give it a shot. You got this. Boom, and now we're done with orange. Hopefully you're getting a little bit quicker and it's getting a little bit easier to graph these. So go ahead and give green a shot. What do you think you're going to label green? Try labeling green yourself and make sure that you also graph those points, connect them the way we've been doing it, and then label your lines and your points. Go ahead and give that a shot. 4 minutes. Go ahead. All right. Hopefully you were able to guess, or know is better. I hope you knew to go with G for green, and then G1 for the first point, G2, and then G3 for each of your points. Here's the information for your blue line. Go ahead and take 4 minutes, graph those coordinate points, connect the points, and then label the lines and points. All right, so by now we should know that labeling is easiest if we just pick the first letter of the color for the line, and then each point is B1, B2, and B3. If you are choosing something other than that first letter of the line or of the color, that is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you understand which line is which line, and when your teacher asks you what it is, you can define which line is which, because we need to be able to know that when you do turn this in, or on a test if you do have a similar problem to this, we need to know which line is which line. So make sure you know which is which. There's the purple line. Go ahead and give the purple line a shot, and I know you got this. By this point, you are pro at doing these. Go ahead and do the purple line now. All right, here we go. Purple line. Hopefully we've got it all graphed. That was about 20 minutes of graphing. Whew! Whew! I'm bet you're glad we're done. That was a lot of work. Good job. All right, let's go ahead and move forward now. All right, here we go. This is what your graph should look like. If you notice, I labeled each of my lines. Here's my red line. Notice that it goes up and then it comes back down. It's like an upside down A or an upside down V. All right, so there's my red and my orange. I labeled it down here. Here's my orange down here, and it goes perfectly up and down the y-axis. Here's my green line. I've labeled it. there's my blue line, and there's my purple line. And each of my lines has labels next to the points. So if you look at red, here's my R1 point, here's my R2 point, and here's my R3 point. Okay, so I'm able to tell that that goes with that red point, and then I can go up and look at my chart above and say, oh, this is supposed to be this number. Oops, maybe I graphed it wrong. Or, oh, this looks exactly right. Okay, so take a second and look at this. Compare your graph. How'd you do? If you made any errors, what errors did you make, and how could you fix those errors the next time? Take a second and discuss. Take a second and work that out. Write that down for yourself. What errors could you fix, and what errors how could you not make those errors next time? All right. So now I want you, for one of those lines, you get to pick one of those lines. I suggest you don't pick red. One of those lines, you're going to answer these 3 questions. What is the steepness? Is it steep? Is it a mountain you really don't want to climb? Or is it shallow, like this a driveway? We could do a driveway. Which direction does it go? Does it go left, right, positive, negative? Maybe it's a chicken. I don't know. And then what's that slope? And then remember, slope is what? Rise over run. So make sure you're looking for those perfect points where it crosses. That should be pretty easy because you've already got them, right? And then you're just going to count what's your rise, what's your run to your next point. Keep a real close watch on your negative and positives, okay? If you go down or left, make sure you're keeping your negatives straight. And last but not least, how many different types of slope did you make? How many different types of slope did you make? Take a second and answer that. Pause the video here and answer that. Look at your graph. How many different types of lines of slopes did you make? All right, if you're looking at puns, we've got P-U-N-Z, puns. That's why I have so many apple pies. Apple pies. So if you're looking at these puns, this is how you can remember the different types of slope that we have in math. So you're looking at puns. What do you think each of these letters represents? There are different types of slope. Which slopes do you know? Go ahead and think about that right now and write it down. All right, so here's a quick hint about the different types of slopes. These are the 4. Well, what do you think they are? So a slope that goes in this direction, this is a positive slope. A slope that goes perfectly straight up and down, parallel to the y-axis, is undefined. Okay? Undefined. A slope that goes downhill, it looks like the other side of the mountain, that is our negative. And a slope that's perfectly flat like the ground, perfectly parallel to the floor, is our 0 slope. All right? Make sure you remember your puns. Have a great afternoon or a great morning.